The first major gameplay patch for Total War Warhammer 3 has been revealed. Patch 1.1 will release in early April and looks to address many of your major concerns with the playable campaign. But before we get into the specifics of exactly what the patch will contain, we'll go ahead and say it now. The patch will not also release with the Immortal Empires Combined map or the Blood DLC. The Creative Assembly's reasoning here is that they want to get the base game into the best playable version possible before they move on to this new campaign, but we'll address that in a minute. First, let's talk about what is in the patch notes. If you've perused Reddit or looked through the official forums for Total War, you'll notice there are more than a few complaints about how the Realms of Chaos campaign plays in Warhammer 3, and patch 1.1 looks to ease some of the more annoying, frankly, bits of the campaign. The Realm of Chaos has been obviously very prevalent in discussion amongst the community, and in this update they're implementing several bug fixes and gameplay tweaks to help ease the mechanics of the game. Here are the big highlights. Players of the campaign will know that when you enter the realm of a Chaos Lord, you get hit with a negative trait relevant to that realm. Well, now the strength of those negative realm traits has been reduced by roughly 50%, and Demon Legendary Lords will no longer get negative traits from their respective patron god. So if you're playing as Scarbrand, you won't get a negative trait from Khorne. If you're playing as Nakari, you won't get one from Slaanesh, and on and on. Traits gained in the Realm of Chaos will now also be removed when a Legendary Lord completes the survival battle inside of that realm. Previously, once you completed a realm, you then had to park your Legendary Lord in a capital or a cleansing building for a number of turns until the trait was removed. Now, you instantly have it removed at the completion, if you actually get to the end. Due to the timed gate nature of the Chaos portals, players frequently found that once an AI got ahead of them in the match, it was almost impossible to catch back up again, and that they could basically be forced to end their game without ever being able to intercept them or stop them in a climactic battle like in the previous Vortex campaign. Now though, when a player intercepts an AI Lord at the Forge of Souls, their souls will now be lost, forcing the AI players to restart their collection from zero, and this should make it easier to disrupt enemy races during the Souls race and prevent an instant game over. The protection building chain that you can build in all of your settlements now can also be used to prevent rifts from spawning in the province in which they are built, which should help with situations of excess corruption and playing demonic whack-a-mole. The reward for gaining souls from each realm has also been improved by providing additional bonuses for a limited period of time. Now, these aren't detailed yet, but it does give you a little something more than just the satisfaction of having completed a realm. Overall, the changes are intended to make the Souls race feel less urgent and give you the chance to approach the battlefields in a different way. They are promising to continue to adjust the mechanics in the future, but hope that these little changes will make a significant impact in your enjoyability. Another area being addressed is the dreaded supply lines. A prevalent issue reported by you, the community, is that supply lines are frankly broken. And in patch 1.1, they hope to address the bug where the upkeep cost of the supplies line mechanic would fail to update after disbanding your armies. Now, I think that many of you would be happy just to see supply lines completely removed in favor of something like the administration system from a Total War Saga Troy, but that is unfortunately not on the books for patch 1.1. Infantry responsiveness has also been addressed. Many of you have reported that when you click on an infantry unit and click to tell them to move, they don't. There's no other way of saying that. And it's definitely one of those things that it's really unclear exactly what's causing that one. While changes have been made to improve the rate of responsiveness, quote unquote, to roughly match that in Total War Warhammer 2, they're still working to continue to improve the AI behavior in combat. And many people don't realize that when you are clicking a unit and moving it, even though you're controlling it, there is still AI happening there. So clearly something is getting in the way a little bit to keep the computer from deciding exactly where a unit should move. You'll also find that sometimes units will be sent into combat and then just stop fighting. Now, the word on that has been addressed as well, but it's good to see they are aware of the issue and are trying to make headways. Faction balance is another thing that, while it has not been as important to the larger conversation, has at least been discussed. Many of you will know that faction balance is already a very fine balance to walk, and how they perform on the battlefield in single player is drastically different than how they can perform in multiplayer. And there is even a new multiplayer mode called Domination that must be balanced around. And it looks like the Creative Assembly is choosing to balance the multiplayer around Domination mode instead of just straight battles for Game 3. Total War has never really had a burgeoning multiplayer scene, and Domination mode is a much more approachable way to get players into it. And it is pretty fun and feels a lot like a Warhammer tabletop battle where you're capturing certain objectives. Or to put it in terms of another video game, sort of like the Arathi Basin from World of Warcraft. You have to capture objectives to hold the points, and let's be honest here, objective holding has been a staple of gameplay for a number of years. The Total War folks even included a very handy little chart to show who they feel is over and underperforming. And you'll notice the difference between the top and bottom win percentage rates is 62% versus 32%. And that's a pretty significant difference. So Ogres are currently overperforming due to their high mass, and Grand Cathay is underperforming. Likely because Domination mode requires you to constantly split up your forces and move them to different locations, which doesn't let Grand Cathay take advantage of their yin and yang mechanics. Now, getting all this to work properly and balance will be something that will take a long time to do, and hopefully will continue for years to come, because balance is something that must always be tweaked in a multiplayer game. Now, one thing they haven't done here is take a look at Slaanesh. Cavalry and chariots and damage reflection are all still not quite dialed in and tweaked yet, and they don't want to make any changes to Slaanesh until those changes have gone through. Again though, not actually included in this patch. There were rumbles and rumors that the balance of multiplayer and single player would be separated for Game 3, as what's good in one place may not necessarily be good in the other, but I haven't heard anything else about that, and only time will tell if that will turn out to be true. It's only been 6 weeks since the game was released, though I'll admit, since I've been playing this since early January, it does feel like a lifetime. With every build, they're looking to squash bugs and try and work on the baseline experience. Previously, major bug fixes were always tied to these major patches, but in Warhammer 3, CA is looking to release bug fix patches between the major patches, so you don't have to wait as long for little minor fixes and changes now, which I personally think is a good thing and more reflective of a modern production cycle. What's not fixed? The Alt-Tab crash fix. If you Alt-Tab in the game, many of you will notice that your game just crashes instantly. And if you try to do borderless Windows mode, that doesn't work either, because when you click with your mouse, they don't quite line up. And that tells me that's actually not entirely Creative Assembly's fault, which is kind of funny to say, but that's actually a graphical bug. So there's something happening between the game and NVIDIA where it's not communicating properly. Now, I won't get into why it's not communicating properly. Creative Assembly themselves have cited their spaghetti code, which is a polite way of saying they're using the same engine since Shogun 2 and have not been maintaining it properly in documentation, so they don't really know what's breaking. That's not really an excuse in my opinion, that's bad data management, but that's also a conversation for another time. I'll leave the rest of the bug fixes up on the screen, as they are rather specific and quite small really, so take a look at those and hopefully it addresses something you may have encountered in the game. The big announcement, at least from my perspective, is that the Steam Workshop will finally be enabled with patch 1.1 coming up in about 2 weeks, meaning mods will now officially be supported. The assembly kit itself will not be available yet, but it should be forthcoming soon. And with so many tools already available to modders that they have created themselves, the need for the assembly kit is much less than it used to be. So if you fancy completely removing the portals from the game and just making a complete sandbox, mods can do that. And that's something that the game developers seem to appreciate. They have an intended gameplay experience with the portals through the Realm of Chaos. They don't want to turn them off there. But if you want to install a mod that removes them completely, well, they're not going to stand in the way of it. Patch 1.1 represents the first step in what will hopefully be years of continued support of the game. And as they mentioned previously, their goal at the moment is to iron out technical wrinkles through stability and performance and just getting everything working properly before they try and slap the Immortal Empires in. My personal feeling is, if they had the Immortal Empires ready to launch, they would give it to us. So take its lack of inclusion in 1.1 as an indication that it's just not in a playable state yet. They are aware that you, I, and frankly all of us are looking for a long-term roadmap of what's going to be coming down the line. But with so much in flux and change right now, and frankly COVID delays still being an issue as they are not yet back in the studio, it's very difficult to pin down these times. They may miss the ballpark by a complete month, and let's be honest here, when that happens, everyone is likely to riot. So they're asking for a little bit of patience as they continue to work this stuff out. But they are at least communicating, and that is a good thing. If you'd like to get a basic idea of everything that might be coming out this year, I recommend this video I've posted previously, though already its timeline needs to be scooched out a bit. While some are preaching doom and gloom and an end to all things awesome, I personally think we'll be enjoying this game for years to come and look forward to continue covering it. So sit tight, hold on to your butts, and look forward to the patch releasing in early April. Thanks for watching.